Hey, it's the Rayrican. And before I start, if you haven't voted yet, go and vote. It's very important. It's your civic duty. And if you're in Virginia, you know, we're going to be talking a little bit about that because it goes with the Democratic strategy. If you're in New Jersey, you got to get rid of Murphy. Thanks to Project Veritas, you know that the Murphy campaign is waiting for re-election to push the vaccine mandates. Now, full disclosure, I'm vaccinated. I'm just against the mandates. I'm against the boosters too, but that's a different story because so I'm just for freedom. And if you're against the mandate, then you need to be against these governors that are going to push the mandates like Murphy. Because Murphy didn't deny the Project Veritas report. He just pushed that they're a conspiracy theory group instead of just going, no, we're not. Which, if that's the case, instead of just denying it, instead of denying it outright, they're trying to imply they're against it without saying they're actually against it. So New Jersey people, Virginia people, please go out and vote these authoritarians out. If you're in New York, same thing. There's only really one choice. If you're for freedom, it's Silwa, because Eric Adams is not going to change much from de Blasio. It's not going to change much. Silwa, is he a conservative? No, but when you're running in a super liberal city, you're gonna get a moderate Republican. You're gonna get a left-leaning Republican. It's just you're not gonna get extreme conservative. You're not gonna get a Texas conservative and to win in New York. Okay, same thing with the Democrats in Texas. They tend to be more moderate until they go to the House, and then it's a different story. Then they support they'll run as moderates, but they'll support the agenda. Now, with that being said, the strategy when it comes to winning these elections, every election cycle, you see it. They use division, and they swear they're the party of unity, except for the fact that whenever you disagree with their policy, it's always, well, if you disagree with our policy, it's because, you're transphobic, you're racist, you're whatever, fill in the blank, some phobic, some ism, if you don't agree with their policies. And it's like, you can be for transgender students, you could be for, be okay with transgender students, but you don't have to change everything radically. You don't have to change, if they identify as female, but they still look like boys, they gotta go to the male's bathroom. That's it. When you have stories like this, granted, these stories are rare, but they still happen. They're just as rare. Well, they used to be just as rare as kids coming out as trans, non-binary, pansexual. All this stuff is a fad. Okay, it's the in thing to do now. So that's why these kids are doing that, because it's being pushed in schools. Oh, look, you're so brave. You're so awesome for doing this, for coming out as. No, you're not brave. You're becoming popular because of it. You have these kids who were maybe picked on, maybe they were awkward, they weren't cool. So now they come out, oh, well, I identify as pansexual or non-binary. Oh, now you're in the cool group. That's how it works. The same thing with the whole thing with you see the studies of with girls, and one member of the group becomes says that they're trans, and it follows suits where a bunch of the other girls will do the same thing. So to say that you're, let's say, against the bathroom policies, you're against girls in schools, girls and boys competing in the same sports, it doesn't make you transphobic. You're just protecting girls. That's it. There's nothing, of a male to female transitioner is always going to have the advantage. They were born a male, okay, and even though they identify as a woman, their genes still say male, no matter how much hormones you pump into them. They still had the advantage of growing up a male, more muscles, more bone density than the average female. But when you disagree with them, that's what they do. Oh, well, you're transphobic. And then you have stories like this. I mean, want to talk about, they push the division. And here's a sad case of this mom talking out. Oh, come on. It was playing. I hate when this happens. I hate when this happens. It's like, it was playing a minute ago, but then all of a sudden it wants to stop now. Okay. Let me just get back to this. Okay. Let's try this one more time so you can hear this lady's story.
First, it was in early spring of 2020 when my 6-year-old somberly came to me and asked me if she was born evil because she was a white person, something she learned in a history lesson at school. Then you kept the schools closed for...
So in history, she learned she was less than, that she was an oppressor because of her skin color. Even this guy, no, oops, wrong story. I was going to say about, to piggyback over what I talked about with Bill Maher yesterday, he said the same thing. He said, if CRT means segregation, segregation again, if it means teaching kids that, young kids that this was a 6-year-old, teaching kids that they're oppressed or oppressor because of their skin color, what are we teaching? What are we teaching? You're teaching kids, all you're going to teach is kids to hate. That's what you're doing. You're teaching kids to hate because you're teaching, let's say you're teaching a black kid or a Latino person, kid to go, oh, I don't like that person because they're white, because they're my oppressor. And then you get white people to hate themselves because, oh, they're the oppressor. My kids are supposed to be oppressed. My kids are less, because that's what this CRT teaches, that we're less than because of our, our heritage, our skin color. It's disgusting. I'd rather teach a colorblind society than a society that's going to keep stressing race when we should all be united as Americans, not divided by skin color. And then that's when you have this person running for governor, and what's he do? He doubles down.
Diversify our teacher base here in Virginia. 50% of the students at Virginia schools, K-12, 50% are students of color, and yet 80% of the teachers are white.
Okay, just because 80% of the teachers are white doesn't mean nothing. That doesn't mean that, let's say, for example, that they're racist because there's more white teachers. All my teachers, the majority of my teachers were either white or Jewish growing up. It's like, let's go through my kindergarten teacher, Jewish. My first grade teacher, not Jewish, she was Italian. My second grade teacher, Jewish. My third grade teacher, Jewish. My fourth grade teacher was Jewish. My fifth grade teacher was Jewish. My sixth grade teacher was Black. And she only taught us social studies. She didn't like math, so she didn't teach us math because she was retiring at the end of the year. My 7th grade teacher was white. My 8th grade teacher was white, but she was a lesbian. My 9th grade teacher, this is homeroom now. My 9th grade homeroom teacher was Black. He was awesome. I love Mr. Bonaparte. That was his name, no jokes. He was a cool teacher. He was an art teacher, and very cool. But yeah, so if you look at it, I named from ninth grade to kindergarten, I had 2 Black teachers. I had no Latinos. Okay. You don't see me complaining. Majority of my teachers were Jewish. So, I mean, especially in New York, that's what we dealt with. Most of our teachers were Jewish. And, doesn't make me hate or love Jews any less. In fact, I grew up around Jewish people. That's why I'm so pro-Israel and pro-Jew. Got my first job. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. But that's what the Democrats do. They push division. This is not unity. This is about pushing division. You're pushing the color divide to try to get out a voter base that honestly, the majority of my people, Latinos and Blacks, they're, blind to see this because they think that because the Democrats want to give welfare and that's a good thing, they want to give us benefits instead of giving us a handout. Give us ways to get out of the ghetto. Don't tell us that you want to integrate the suburbs. We want to integrate the suburbs by getting out of the city. We don't want projects in the suburbs. We want to live in the suburbs. We want to be in the low crime area. We don't want to stay in the ghetto our whole lives. Granted, there's people who are generational in poverty because why? They're on welfare. They stay on welfare. They don't encourage their kids to get out of welfare. And then you got Democrats and like this guy, Juan Williams, going, parents' rights is code for white race politics. Look, I'm a Latino. I go to these school board meetings. I fight CRT because I don't want my kid to learn that they're oppressed by the white man. No, they're oppressed by Democrats who tell them they are less than who they are because of their skin color, their heritage, because they speak a different language. Why is it that the Chinese and the Asian students do so well? That's why they don't talk about the Asian students, because they throw a wrench in that racist nonsense, that everything's about racism, because they excel. Because why? One, the Chinese and the Asian families, rarely do you see them as single parents. They're always together. There's a mom and dad in the house. And they're always pushed to do well in school. They're not pushed to be popular in school. They're pushed, you better come home with an A. If you come home with a B, that's not good enough. And that's the advantage of having a 2-parent family, preferably a mom and a dad. It's not about being anti-LGBT, because I am not. I'm someone who's for gay marriage. I'm for gay adoption because I think at the end of the day, it's better for these kids to have 2 parents, regardless if it's a mom and a dad, which is, like I said, preferred. But it's better than these kids have 2 dads or 2 moms than being stuck in foster care or being stuck in orphanages. But if you don't agree with 100% of the Democrat agenda, you're racist, sexist, homophobe, transphobe. That's not unity, that's division. It's agree with what I say, or you're a blah, 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 fill in the blank. They're not attacking, you see this Virginia race, and I'm like I showed this guy's clip. He's not attacking this guy's ideas. He's just attacking him using racism. You could disagree. That's the problem that's going on now. It's agree with what I say, or you're a racist, or you're a phobe, racist, whatever. If you don't agree with them, that's because because we're too white. Okay. But if we had such an systematic racist country, why would white kids need to lie in college forms? Because here's this story. No, I'll get back to that one. Because this guy got, he tried to make it seem like owned was being racist. He got owned. He got owned. He thought he was being smart when he posted this, and he made himself, not only did he make himself look stupid, okay, but he proved unwittingly that systemic racism is bullshit. It goes here. More than a third of this is his own Twitter, and then he had to delete his own tweet. More than a third of white students lied about their race on college applications, and about half of those applicants lied about being Native American. More than 3/4 of these students who lied about their race were accepted. So they had to lie to better their chances of getting into college. Okay. I remember my story about going to college. I remember having some of my white friends go that scored higher than me. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna retake my SAT because it's not good enough. A lot of these colleges aren't going to accept me." And they're like, "Aren't you going to retake yours?" I'm like, "No, I'm Latino. I know most of these places are going to want to accept me." And I got a scholarship or a grant, excuse me. I got a grant, not a scholarship. I got a grant from a school to entice me to go to there, which I did. But I got into all the schools I wanted to get into, I got into. And I didn't even have a great SAT, and I didn't have a great GPA. But I already knew the system. Is it fair? No, but I knew it. I didn't have to worry. So this whole thing about being systemic racism, right there, this grifter, because that's the whole thing. The fact that he got owned, had to delete it, and then tries to play the victim after getting owned shows that systemic racism is just a term to get us it's just get us fighting against each other. That's all it is. And even like I said, with this guy Juan Williams talking about, parents' rights is code for white race politics. I'm a Latino. I'm there fighting CRT too. And parents need to be active in their school boards, need to be active in their PTAs to to be able to make sure that kids aren't being taught that they're less because they're either less, teaching blacks and Latinos that they're less, that they're oppressed because of the color of their skin or their heritage, or teaching white kids that they're oppressors because they're white and that they're evil. Because that's what these kids are learning. It's sad. It's sad. And here, just this article, last article here, it's a racist approach to education. Civil rights leader slams Democrat gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe for saying that there are too many white teachers in Virginia. And like I said, at the end of the day, this is the game plan when it comes to Democrats. And the media are complicit when it comes to doing that. Because ABC, NBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all of these outlets, they're complicit because they're mostly Democrats. CNN was better when they had a mixed, people used to trust them because, they had diversity of thought. Now they have diversity in that they have, more women, more people of color, but now they're ideologically the same. They don't think any differently. That's why this is the, this is how the Democrats win these elections, because they have their friends in media that don't call out, oh, wait a minute, if CRT is not being taught in school, then why are you guys fighting it? Simple question. Because if it doesn't, if they're not, it's not being taught, then why do you care? Because if it's not being taught, then why does it matter if they're banning CRT? Because if you're just teaching history, then it's just teaching history. But you're not. You're teaching a theory on systemic racism. And because you people in the media, people in the Democrats, people in education that are all Democrat, they don't see it as just a theory, they accept it as fact. And this is being taught to our kids. That's why right-leaning people need to go into education. And I've said this before, but that's the Democrats' game plan for election day 2021, election day 2022, okay, election cycle 2024. That's all they're gonna push is division, hate. They're the ones that push the division and the hate. Okay. Saying that we're all Americans and we should all be proud to be Americans, regardless of our skin color, regardless of our ethnicity, regardless if you were born in this country or you immigrated to this country legally. Because that's the whole thing right there. You don't agree with them and you're, anti-immigrant, anti-Black, anti-Latino, anti-trans, anti-gay. That's their agenda. It's either you agree with them or you're against them and you're anti whatever, instead of going, well, we just disagree on policy. That's it. Okay, that's it for me today. I'm I love, I love politics. Election day is a good way to make your voice be heard. So go out there and make your voice heard. Hopefully we can make history in some of these places, because especially like in New York, it'd be crazy to see Silva win. And because if not, I think New York is going the way of California. It's going to go, they go 60% plus Democrat, then New York is going to go the way of California with super majorities, and there's going to be no diversity of thought. It's just going to be just an ideological purity test over there in New York, like they do in California. Okay, I'm the Right Rican. You can if you're watching me on YouTube or Rumble, please cross subscribe. And also you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, Clout Hub, and so please follow me there too. And remember, go out and vote.